I would like to introduce Queenie Mei. She is our panelist for today. Queenie is a second year MILR who came in straight from undergrad, and she has just done so many amazing things since she's been here. So I'd like to give her just a minute to introduce herself and say hello.
Thank you so much, Derry. Thank you all for having me. As Derry said, I am a second year MILR with an HR and O concentration. So I came in straight from undergrad where I also studied HR, knew that I always wanted to learn more about HR and came across this amazing program and opportunity and thus have really enjoyed building my connections and community here. Um, Over the summer, I had the opportunity to intern with IBM in their headquarters at Armonk, New York, and I'll be returning to them in March after I graduate.
That's great, Queenie. That's really amazing. Such a good opportunity, and you took such great advantage of all of the things that we have in career services and doing the off-campus and on-campus recruiting, and it just was so successful for you. So I'm really glad to hear this. So I'm going to start. How this is going to go is I'm going to start asking Queenie a few questions, and she's just going to tell about her experience. This is non-scripted, so anything might happen. And we love it that way because that's what life is and that's what work is like. So I'm just going to throw out some questions and Queenie will respond. If you have any questions, please feel free to just drop them in the chat or the Q&A section. I would be happy to sort of put them into the chat as we're talking about the experience, and don't hesitate to ask any questions. I will answer what I can. If it's something that I can't answer here, I will just recommend that we meet privately. That's something that's super important. I'm always available during the week to meet, and I try to make myself very available for different schedules. I travel a little bit, but usually I can accommodate most schedules. So just keep in mind that I'm happy to meet with you if you'd like a one-on-one meeting. So to get started, Queenie, what can you tell us a little bit about why you thought it was a good idea to go on to grad school and what your reasons were for heading to grad school after your undergrad?
Yeah, absolutely. To be quite frank, when I was finishing up my undergraduate degree, I told myself that I wasn't going to go straight to grad school. It was a recommendation from perhaps some of my peers, predominantly my parents. But I was very keen on going into the workforce and getting more work experience before returning to grad school. So that was actually my initial plan. But I decided to apply to some grad programs just to have some more options. And that's when I came across the MILR program. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have that option was because as I started doing some recruitment for post undergrad opportunities, I realized that there was a lot of limitation as to what I could do in HR that wasn't very administrative for an entry level role. And in terms of the compensation, it wasn't where I wanted to be, considering how I wanted to support my family as soon as I could. So when I did some digging, that's when I learned a lot more about the MILR program. I reached out to some alum and saw that there were so many doors to opportunities that I never could have even thought I would have access to, given that all I had was my undergraduate degree. So things like having that connection to specific organizations or having that alumni network, that specialized HR kind of knowledge that wasn't possessed, unfortunately, by my undergrad, were all things that I was seeking and I knew that I wanted to develop before perhaps having that skill set to go into the workforce again. So I took a risk, and that's why I decided to go to grad school. And I never looked back.
Great, great. So you were looking at grad schools. What about the MILR program stood out? Why did you decide MILR was the right one?
Yeah, definitely. So I applied to three different grad schools, and the reason why Mylar was one that stood out was because it had such a deep root in the HR field, but also in labor relations. I think that that was something that was incredibly unique, especially when I was looking at HR master programs. Um, when looking at a lot of like different organizations that you are going to have to deal with employee relations, unions, And these were not kind of aspects or things that other programs were tapping into at all. So there's that labor piece here that I was looking for and I was very, very interested in that other programs did not necessarily provide. In terms of the alumni network, so incredibly strong. The MILR alumni network is so incredibly strong. The community is incredibly strong. Um, and I saw that when I was looking at, for example, the career site, when I was looking at success stories from alums, and even a lot of the individuals that I was networking with in terms of the professional world, they know about the MILR program. They have the respect for the MILR program. And so given, not only the academics, but also the connections and the network that I could build, I just knew that it was the program for me. And that's the one that I wanted to invest my time in.
That was great, Queenie. Thank you. And you're right. So the MILR program, the ILR school has been in existence for almost 80 years. The MILR program has been in existence for over 50 years. So we were one of the first schools to recognize HR and labor relations as a field of study. So that just makes our alumni network so deep and so broad. We have alumni in all different levels of work and in all different fields. We have them in manufacturing, we have them in pharma, we have them in medical, we have them in tech, we have them in finance. So just alumni just everywhere. And so that is a really big part of what you gain being a MILR. And we have approximately 60 alumni that come back every year to recruit, to teach classes, to be a guest lecturer, to give professional development. Some of them come back and will teach for a full semester, will teach a class. And I had a student earlier today ask me if I were to attend the MILR program, are the classes taught by faculty or are they taught by TAs? Well, I can say they are taught by faculty, unless they're taught by an alum, which those classes fill up fast. If an alum comes in to teach a class for a semester, they definitely fill it fast because you're getting that real world experience. Right, while you're learning about all the different aspects of HR. It's such a broad field because you can specialize in different things like compensation or talent acquisition, HR analytics, but yet you can also just be very broad, and it does cover the labor side. When we look at what's happening in this country now with a labor resurgence in Amazon, Starbucks, some of our bigger companies that are different branches of these companies that are thinking about unionizing, these companies really want someone in their HR that understands collective representation, dispute resolution, and has that opportunities to take classes in those from experts in those fields. So it's really important to have that labor side. And we hear this quite frequently from our current students that the labor side was a big part. So, so let's talk a little bit about the application process for you. So you decided that you wanted to apply to the MILR program. And what were some of the things that you did to get yourself ready to apply?
Derry, you were the first thing you were the first person that I had to come in contact with, and you actually convinced me to go through with my application. So I would say if you are unsure, I know that everybody experiences imposter syndrome, imposter phenomenon. And it can really hold you back from, going for these opportunities that truly could be very fitting for you. So I remember when I first completed my pre-assessment, because that was one of the opportunities that you can have in terms of like if you're not sure if you'd be a good fit for the program, that you can then speak with Derry. So that was one of the things that I did. And I was like, I don't know if I'm like a great candidate. Like I don't have any experience. I'm coming straight from my undergrad. I studied HR. I have some internship experience, but like, will I even be able to, you know, be competitive as a candidate when it comes to recruiting for these organizations, or when I'm like learning in these classes, will I be able to keep up? And that's when Derry told me everything I needed to know about not only the program itself, but also about how to really make my application stand out. So any sort of concerns that I had, anything in terms of timeline that best fit for me, I would say that was incredibly helpful. So thank you so much, Derry. I would say another thing that also helped prep me was I did a lot of networking with alums. So I spoke to, I would say, at least maybe 6 different alumni from different cohorts to get kind of their perspective on what they got out of the program. So that kind of gave me a sense as to what my intentions would be or what my mission would be coming here. Just because I think that, especially with the application, when they have to do a statement of purpose, and I believe that this year they also have that component of the personal statement.
Yes, yes.
It's your intentions and kind of how what you want to invest in the program comes through much more clear once you have a better understanding as what the program has to offer. And I'd say that that's kind of what helped me make my application, what made me feel better about my application and what I think helped make my application stand out was because I came in with a purpose. Um, because it is a program that, it can be a lot of money to invest your time. And it's also 2 years away from the workforce. So you want to make sure that you're coming in here with an idea in mind as to what you may want to come out with. So that's kind of the prep that I did. Of course, digging through the entire website, there's so much great information on that in terms of, again, like stories from our students from all different backgrounds. I think that doing a little bit more research in terms of where MILRs go after the program, they provide very transparent with all the statistics. Um, and yeah, and even speaking with current students, I think like conversations like these were the ones that were the most helpful for me because, again, they're going through it right now. And so I was able to grasp kind of a better sense of how my life would be in the MILR program should I come.
Yeah, that was great, Queenie. Thank you. Yes, I tell everyone I have the best job in the world. I love meeting with prospective students. I think our program is a little unique in offering the pre-assessment, which again kind of gives you an insight about if the program's right for you and if you're a fit for the program. It's very important. We always put student first. So we are not only seeing if you're a fit for the program, but if the program's really a fit for you. And as Queenie mentioned, have a purpose, talk a little bit about what you're thinking about, where you want to go, what you're hoping to do. This is going to be pretty instrumental in the committee thinking about your application. We wouldn't want you to invest time and money here if it wasn't going to get you where you wanted to go. So absolutely. I've just created a new video this year that's on the website currently, and it's under the admissions section. It's about 6 minutes long, so you will have to listen to me talk for 6 minutes. But even if you've had a meeting with me, this is really a comprehensive video that kind of touches base again on all the things that we would have talked about when we had our meeting. So this is really helpful for those of you that are thinking of applying. We have a couple questions in, and they're very similar. So I'm going to read those out, Queenie. What were your classes like in the program, your second year versus your first year? And what is the certain specialization you can do in the program? And the other one is, what is the favorite classes you have taken in the program? So yeah, those are two great things. So if you'd
Yeah,
like to.
definitely. So just to start, first year versus second year classes, your first year, specifically your first semester, if you choose to enroll in the fall, is that you complete what is known as the famous bundle project. So this was a very comprehensive project where you actually get to work with a partner organization, a CARS partner. And so CARS is the Center for Advanced Human Resources Studies. And so you get that direct exposure to senior leadership and how we conduct decision making, how we identify pain points and problem statements within the organization. And this bundle project consists of 3 or 4 courses, what we call also like the bundle classes, that you take almost as a block enrollment with your cohort. So it's really a great opportunity to not only get to know your peers very quickly, but also to get real life work experience, not only talking to senior leaders about what they perceive as an issue or with their strategy or their business or whatever it is that they're proposing that year for the case, and then working with your teams to propose solutions that are implementable to the business. So I think that there is right off the bat great ways for you to kind of learn not only HR if you are choosing to pivot or you're just trying to find ways to enhance your knowledge or your capabilities, but to also apply it. So that was a very critical moment for my first semester here. So, and that was predominantly what we focused on. Starting your second and your third semester, you'll start choosing a little bit more of your own classes. Of course, there are certain core requirements that you'll still take. So, for example, like labor economics or labor law. But overall, starting my second semester, I got to take classes that were approved, but outside of the ILR school as well. So I got to take classes from the hotel school, from the Johnson MBA school, and really get to expand not only my network, but my knowledge across different kind of aspects that would also supplement my work as an HR professional. I would say favorite classes that I've taken, two of which I think were part of the bundle. I really, really enjoyed organizational behavior. I loved HR strategy and finance because you do also part of our work as HR professionals, I think, is justifying a lot of the work that we're doing. I loved managerial negotiations. And then this year, I would say my favorite course has been social capital and organizations. So just a handful, lots of great information there. And then Derry, what was there another aspect to that question that I did not tap into?
No, I think you got it. Like, what was the difference and what are some of your favorite classes? I'm sorry, I dismissed them quick because I'm trying to watch, but yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. It was absolutely perfect. I do want to add one thing to what Queenie said. So whenever we do anything in the MILR program as a structure change or as a structure proposed way to do things, we really think it over a lot, and we also listen to our students. So why do we enroll everyone the first semester? Well, it's a couple of good reasons. So there are some core classes that you have to take, and those core classes are labor and they are HR classes. So you have the one HR class, but you have the stats, you have labor law, you have labor economics, you have organizational behavior. We enroll you in those in the beginning so that you can really see a broad view of what direction you might want your MILR degree to go in, because it is so tailored. As Queenie mentioned, you can take courses in this school or in other schools. And, say you want to be like a compensation expert, you'll take compensation classes in ILR, in the Johnson Business School, in the hotel school, in the law school, right? So, but maybe you just want a really broad overview, and that too allows you to do that if you have a really broad beginning. The other reason we do it is a really shared experience. I have to tell all my prospective students, the first semester in this program is so challenging. You come in, you're meeting your cohort, you're getting used to Cornell, and you're recruiting right away. We try to make this as easy as possible, but it is just a heck of a semester. And I'm meeting with a lot of my first years right now that are like, I can't wait till this first semester is over. And you will feel that way, but it's a positive way too. A lot of our first years already have their summer internships. They don't even start till June. But that recruiting is tough to do at the same time when you're getting used to being in the program. So it's not an easy first semester, but I'm sure that Queenie can say this too on both ends now. The second years are really helpful. When she was a first year, I'm sure the second years were really helpful to her. And as a second year, she's helpful to our first years. And that's a thing about a connection. That's really about the connection that our MILR students make with one another. If you want to talk about that a little bit, Queenie.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Derry said, I think that being block enrolled your first semester is very, very intentional. I think in full transparency and full honesty. Um, Ithaca, as we refer to it as the Great Metropolis, it can be lonely when you first get here. And it's because it is, it is a city that is quite far out. And a lot of people come from very different places. Some people leave their families to come here. And it truly is a new kind of place, a new community. And so by being block enrolled and kind of having that community bonding by spending that much time together and also doing the bundle project together, especially when you're also hitting the ground running the second you come into the program recruiting, it can be tough if you are alone. So being block enrolled kind of helps enable that community building by having the same faces around, by having that support group around, and you develop these relationships very quickly and very naturally because of the block enrollment. And I even considered when I first came in here to almost opt out of a lot of the intro intro HR courses. But I chose to stay because I knew that I would be completely missing a lot of the community building that would come with the bundle courses had I chosen to step out of it. So again, part of it is very, very intentional, and part of course, that's not to say that if you choose not to be part of those classes, that you won't have that community. We still have what we call the ground, which is our graduate lounge, where a lot of us always come in just to mingle, just to check in on each other. We are a very, very tight knit student body, I would say. We're always very much looking after one another. We're always open to sharing kind of our experiences. And so that was something that I think was set precedent by our second years. And as second years now, we also try to pass that on continuously because, again, it's so important here to just have that kind of shoulder to lean on if you need it. Because there's just so much going on. There's always so much going on. And again, with like, if I hadn't met any of my like bundle members, which who now are actually some of my closest friends, and we've planned vacations together. Like I couldn't have imagined that this program or this process would have been much harder.
Thank you, Queenie. That really says it. I hear this from students over and over and over again. Like, oh, I'm not sure I want to do that bundle. But then when they do it, they're like, yeah, it was great. And one thing that you also gain is that if you meet a MILR 2 years down the road, they're going to be like, yeah, you did the bundle your first semester, didn't you? So it's really that shared experience, whether you were
It
here
is.
5 years ago, whether you're here today, or whether you're coming tomorrow, you all have that bundle experience. And again, very intentionally done, student first. We've done this for a long time. So what's really going to be the most beneficial for you? So thank you for offering that, Queenie. Couple of questions. The first one, is there an online option for this program? No, there is no online program option for this program. And that is done very intentionally. Some of the things that Queenie was just talking about building those networks and being able to be immersed in this curriculum with these amazing faculty members is so, so, so important. So no, we don't offer any of this program online. I will talk a little bit more about financial aid. Queenie, would you like to take the first question? Can you see it at the top?
Is it in the
How were you able to communicate your preparedness for the program, given that you came directly from undergrad?
Yeah, definitely. So, just to answer that question, um, one of the ways I think I was able to communicate a lot of my preparedness was through reaching out to a lot of my, I would say, prior employers or supervisors, as well as my peers. I was very fortunate that during my undergrad, I was also able to have 4 HR internships under my belt before I came into the program. So I think that that definitely was a great contributor. But I think that even more than just your preparedness, it's just about doing your research and again, finding your intention and finding your purpose. There are a lot of candidates that come in here with no HR experience at all. Some individuals are choosing to pivot careers. Some other individuals are coming straight from undergrad without any HR experience. And the best way to emulate kind of your preparedness for the program, I think, is truly doing your research and just speaking with, you know, people within the network, people like that are alums, where did they go afterwards? What are some classes that they took? Just show that you truly have an interest in investing your time and your money into this program. Because you have a purpose, you have something that you want to take, you have something that you want to learn. I did a lot of research as to what classes were going to be taught, who the lecturers were, because these lecturers, like Derry said, are practitioners in the industry that are taking the time to be here on campus to meet and also speak and teach all of you. So I made sure to really convey that in my statement of purpose, and as well as to all the other alums or current students that I was meeting with, that this was my interest. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? So it really just came down to speaking and learning, and I think gathering as much information and knowledge as I could possible, because again, it is also about evaluating whether or not this program was a fit for me. And I was only able to do that by learning about what the program had to offer. So that's how I conveyed my preparedness. And then again, just also speaking with people who had supervised me or my peers from my undergrad about what my skills were, do you think that this was the right kind of like, are these kind of options that I should be holding on to? And then hearing where other people who may have chosen not to go to grad school and where they may have gone. So again, I think it's about finding intention, about finding purpose, and just reaching out to your network to kind of find those answers.
It's very good too. Preparedness is really important. We will at Cornell get some students that will apply to many different master's programs just to go to Cornell, but they aren't a fit for this program. So one of the things that the faculty members are going to be looking for, and I do talk about this in the video, is your due diligence. So it's Cornell's a rigorous school. So if you're going to do anything like this, you need to do some due diligence before, and we want to see that you have done that. That just doing that due diligence and telling us what you did tells us that you're a good candidate, because the students that work here or that come here are going to have to be able to really think on their feet, and find information out before they make a move, and learning, able to learn and want to learn about what their next steps are. Those are super important. So talking about your due diligence within your application is a really good thing to do. So let's just talk. I'm going to come back to Helen's question, because I think there's a really important part that I want Queenie to talk about in Helen's question. And thank you, Helen. That's terrific. But can you talk a little bit about the student groups?
The student groups. Yeah. So in terms of specifically within ILR, I'm
And
assuming,
HCA too, because HCA, so there's,
yeah,
HCA is Human Capital Association,
there's
there's,
GSA.
yeah, GSA, which is Graduate Student Association, IGSA, International Graduate Student Association.
So there's definitely a lot of different student groups here that are very focused on community building. Just because again, we are very people first, we're very student first, community first type of student body. So I guess just to briefly start with GSA, which is our Graduate Student Association for ILR. They are, I would say, the ones who communicate the most with the MILRs regarding any sort of community building activities, professional development activities. They're a great student body, and some of my closest friends as well. So in terms of if you ever feel lost, they were always a great point of contact as to where should I be? What should I do? Who do I reach out to? So in terms of also directing you to the right people, they were amazing. Very similarly, IGSA, but they have much more of a catering towards international students, because we also have a great community of international students here. And so they have a little bit more knowledge in terms of for international students, whether that's career building, but also to celebrate the different cultures that we have. I would say one thing that I'm very fortunate and very honored to say is that the MILR program is so incredibly diverse. We have individuals from all different backgrounds, so many different countries, all different ages. And so IGSA, they also really emulate this like idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we have a bunch of great cultural events thanks to them. So I think coming up, we're celebrating Diwali. And
Yes, Raleigh,
yes, so I'm really looking forward to that. We've also previously had China night, Korea night. And so there's a community to make sure that, every individual here feels supported and connected. And then we have HCA, who is in collaboration with the Johnson's MBA school. So through them, I would say that we've received a lot more professional development opportunities. They're also great peers that are able to point you in the right direction, connect you with a lot of great alums. But I would say, especially this semester, there's been a lot of great collaboration between all three student organizations to enable, greater and bigger events to, again, develop that sense of community and togetherness. That being said, I would say there are also a lot of student groups outside of the ILR school, and it's thanks to Cornell being such a large institution. So there's truly a place for everyone. I know that there are some students who have found their place with if you're like a parent, there's like a parent community group. There's individuals who are of different ethnic backgrounds and they've found different connections there. So lots of different, I would say that if you can name it, there's probably something there for it on campus.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. A very, very, very good way to put it. So let's go to Helen's question because we do have some financial aid questions and we'll get to those all at once. Great. Thank you for asking them. This is the perfect place to do that. So, hi, Queenie. Have you ever met any challenges during your time in the program and either in choosing concentration or passing courses? So we had a little talk, Queenie and I, just before we started about her journey and her changes since she's been here. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for Queenie to sort of talk about that.
Yeah, I would say that it would be a lie if there were no challenges. But to also cushion with that, I've had so much great support here. So just to briefly explain, I think that again, coming in to the MILR program, I had a little bit of HR background already. And so I would be lying to say I wasn't skeptical about what else I could possibly learn. I knew that there were a plethora of different topics that I had yet to tap into. Um, but starting my first year and comparing myself now, how much I have changed, I don't even think I can properly articulate. Um, in terms of the specific challenges, I would say that it was really the first time I got to meet and apply kind of the things that I was learning um, to real work in the organization, things that like industries were happening right now, opportunities at the Cars Roundtable and meeting all these executives made me realize that there's so much that I had yet to learn. There's so much that I did not know. Um, and I think that this is such an interesting time to be in HR. And I think that that was one of the challenges for me because coming in, I didn't know what I could learn. And then now I would say I don't have enough time to learn everything, and that I wish I could just stay and learn and absorb everything I possibly could. Um, and so to I would say if I were to go back, I would say that I wish I could tell myself to plan my courses a little bit better, just because I was speaking to some of my professor about this. I think there's so much that I have yet to take advantage of in terms of what I could possibly learn. So, um, so to address your question about choosing the concentrations or passing the courses, I don't think there's necessarily a struggle with that, but necessarily prioritizing which courses to take was definitely a struggle. And then also finding out what I still had yet to learn was also a struggle. And then that was only through meeting with all these individuals, getting this real life practice as to applying my knowledge, was what helped me realize, there was still so much I had yet to learn. And that was kind of one of the big like realizations that I had. I definitely had a point that I was trying to reach with this, and I'm kind of blanking, um,
But that's okay. And I think you've really nailed it. And the confidence level that you have now is so different. I mean, the faculty has seen it, our office has seen it, and I just wanted you to sort of talk a little bit about how you feel differently after your first year under your belt, and then a great internship, and now starting your second year.
Yeah, definitely. That is what I was missing. Yes, absolutely.
I knew you were
So
heading there.
I would say coming in here again, like I came in with, I still feel it, but definitely came in a bit insecure about where I was stood. I think being an undergrad, someone who came straight from undergrad and an early professional, um, I knew that there were certain areas that I was lacking. And a lot of times in classes, I struggled to speak up. I struggled to really engage in specific classes. I would do my work and I would, be able to do well, but there was so many missed opportunities that I was, not really taking advantage of because I was too afraid to perhaps um like meet with an executive after they've like given us their time to speak during our class, or to really share my opinion in a class when we were doing a case study. And it's really through these kind of like active engagements that you learn the most. And so those were things that I think that I was a little bit more shy of during my first uh, semester or second semester here. I think as I had grown throughout the first two semesters, so my first year as a MILR, and then especially after my summer internship opportunity, that was when I really realized that yeah, having that visibility, but also just having that practice and that enablement to not only really engage, but also to enable others to engage as well was the only way that you would truly not like grow your own skills and abilities, but also to expand in your own knowledge, to get comfortable. And so again, like I said, I do still feel the imposter syndrome. Sometimes I think everybody does, but I felt much more grounded and much more trust. I started to believe in myself and my abilities to um go further than where I currently was. I think that I was able to tell myself that I can do this specific area of HR just because, like I said, I think it's an incredibly interesting time to be part of HR right now. There's so many things under the umbrella of what we call human resources.
Mhm.
And a lot of times I told myself that I wouldn't be a fit for this area because I don't know enough. But now it's more so a question of when or I will rather than, oh, I can't. So definitely like I'm so fortunate that a lot of the faculty have seen this and have told me this as well because I truly I feel like I've grown. But I think that the confidence level and also the knowledge that I've gained has enabled me to feel much more comfortable in tackling challenges head on.
Yeah, that was terrific. That's great. And it's funny because I have heard some straight from undergrad say when they come in, they're just a little bit intimidated by the ones that come in that have a lot of work experience. But within their first semester, second semester, definitely after their internship, they say, I've earned a seat at the table and I have just as much to offer as those that have a lot of work experience. And so I'm glad, Queenie, that you've seen that happen. So I'll answer this one question that came in. The main difference between the MILR program and the MS Labor. The MS Labor program was created this year. It was taken out of the MILR program. We listened to what our labor students felt like they needed. This is going to be a program that's really labor focused entirely. It's more of a research degree. It's going to be a degree that will require a thesis at the end of it. It's more of a beginning to maybe a PhD. The students that come out of that program will be more in research positions and doing sort of think tank and labor research positions. The MILR program is mainly a concentration of HR, but it does have labor aspect to it. So those that are really thinking about working directly as a labor representative, strictly into labor in real time, in real workplaces, then that's more the MILR program. So it's really definitely just designed as more of a research area. So Queenie, one part that you talked about a little bit, and I think this is a good question. What would be the best way to reach out to alums, and how are you successful? And I can also offer some information on that too.
Yeah, definitely. I would say found the most success through LinkedIn. And typically I would say Mylars are they're so incredibly open. And they're willing to be transparent and honest with you as well. And that was something that I truly appreciated because I wanted to truly figure out if this was the path that I wanted to take. So LinkedIn, I found a lot of success in terms of reaching out to alums, whether that was also with current students as well. But if you also don't know where to start or you have a sense as to what kind of background of a student you are looking for, I think the grad office was also a great place to reach out to. Typically, if you have an idea, if you want to speak to specifically a individual who came straight from undergrad or an international student or an alum that is now being in tech or consulting, again, we have a strong alumni network. And so I think that the grad office was also very helpful in terms of pointing me in specific directions or linking me or connecting me to alumni that fit kind of what I was looking for to gain their perspective.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly right. Billy is the MILR liaison between the MILR students and our office, and he is just a valuable, valuable resource. We often have a student meet with him first, and then he gets to know the student a little bit better. And because he's so familiar with all of the MILRs, he can say, oh, I have this student that is a very similar background or was looking for a very similar career path or has had a very similar career path and make those connections for our students. So terrific, Queenie. Thank you. Sarah also has another question. Hi, Queenie. Can you please talk a bit about the different executives and other professional speakers that that you've been able to learn from, specifically about the diversity of backgrounds that they come from? So, and thank you. So that's really a good point to bring up.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that it's been a very, very diverse mix. A lot of them have been, if not MILR alums, also BSI-LR alums. There's been a wide range of male, female, also different kind of ethnic backgrounds. But it's just also this opportunity to meet with executives such as CHROs, individuals who have worked in HR consulting, very different kind of career paths as well. That's one of the things that I've noticed. Individuals who never thought that they would go into HR and then have now ended up in an executive HR position, individuals who have worked in HR their entire life. So I would say that from the mix that I have been able to encounter with, and again, we also have the cars roundtable, and you'll see that that is a large, large mix, as well as the labor roundtable. Um, you truly do get individuals from all different backgrounds, and I think it really speaks to the ILR school as well as kind of the MILR program. It's just going to always be a mix of very diverse backgrounds, but then we always come together as a community to kind of share our experiences and share our knowledge, because I think that's also what HR is all about, because we're truly building our experiences for a wide range of individuals. So I think that professors are also very intentional when they choose guest speakers, to make sure that they have a very diverse group.
Yes, they do. And I'm just going to touch something quick. We've both referred to CARS. That's CAHRS, and it stands for Center for Advanced Human Resource Studies. And that's on our website. There's a link to it from the ILR website. I can also see if I can put one in the chat. But basically, that is a collaborative group of Fortune 500, Fortune 200 companies that come in. They brainstorm, they work together, they're networking, they're really learning and trying to develop new HR strategies, work with one another to determine what are best practices in HR. So all of these things, we're just so lucky and blessed to have this organization within our school, especially since we're really working to put out those very conscientious labor and HR students. I'm just going to answer Katie's question quickly. If I'm interested in participating in research projects, when would be the appropriate time to reach out? You can sort of begin to reach out now. There's a couple of places on our website. So we have areas of expertise and our faculty web pages. So check those, see who's working in what. Please feel free to reach out. Tell them you're a prospective MILR student and you're thinking about applying. So you can do that a little bit before. You can also do it if you are admitted into the program. Queenie, do you want to add anything to that at all?
I think that in terms of the research project, you touched upon it very well. I think that a lot of professors, if not all, always conduct some sort of research. And we also, again, with CARS, they offer some research assistant positions, I believe, every
Yes,
semester or
every
two.
semester. Mhm.
So lots of great opportunities to always engage in research projects, and a lot of courses, for example, as well, will also provide opportunities for you to conduct research. I know that I'm in a autism at work course as well as a disabilities accommodations course in the first half of the semester. So in those courses, I've also been able to do some research. Um, as well as another example, for example, in my course with total rewards, also did some research there. So even if you don't necessarily do research right off the bat with perhaps a professor, your courses will enable you to do research. Oh, a very great one this semester that's happening that I'm not personally in, but a lot of my peers are in, is executive research, where you still get to work with CARS partnered companies to conduct research for perhaps a business problem that they're experiencing. So lots of different courses also offer that opportunity, but like Derry said, you can always feel free to reach out to any sort of professors that have a specialized study and then kind of see whether or not they're conducting any sort of research and then try to get involved there.
That's perfect. Yeah, I do want to stress, however, that this is not a research degree. This is a professional degree, very similar to an MBA. Our students are not going to go out and do research. They're going to go out and be very impactful in the world of work. They're just going to hit the ground running and be ready to go. But again, it does combine some research in there. So if there's something that you're really interested in and you really want to take a deeper dive into that, look at the areas of expertise from our main webpage, and that's going to tell you what the faculty are doing now. And for example, we have lots of institutes: the Compensation Institute, the Institute on Disabilities, the Workers Institute. So all of these institutes that we have within the school really sort of allow you to again take that sort of deep dive if there's something you're really interested in. A lot of our students are very passionate about DE&I. A lot of them are very passionate about workers' rights for the handicapped and the non-traditional worker, if you will. So we have a whole institute that's dedicated to that research and in setting global policies. Suzanne Briere sits on a committee that really sets global policy on workers' rights for those with disabilities. So super important work that's being done here, super important research, and we're very impactful in that world of work. So the last three that I have here, or that I'm looking at, I think I got some more in, but I'll just talk quickly a little bit about financial aid. So there are some initial financial aid that happens as a graduate program. Most graduate programs don't have a lot of financial aid, but we do have a little bit of financial aid that we award to our admitted students. You don't have to do anything separately at all. You simply, those admitted will be considered for all scholarship that they qualify for, so you don't have to write a separate essay or do anything like that. We do have a TA process that will allow you to apply for TA-ships. You cannot apply for a TA-ship as an incoming student because you have to be a fully matriculated student in order to be a TA. So you're coming in, you're not going to be a fully matriculated student until the fall semester. So every semester you will apply for the TA-ship for the next semester. So as a fall student, you will apply for a TA-ship for the spring. Our TA-ships are the most lucrative on campus. They cover at least full tuition, and some do include a stipend as well. Queenie, have you had any experience with that? Would you like to talk about that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had the opportunity to be a TA this semester. Like Derry said, I had to apply last semester to get a TA position this year. And so the process was just, again, attaching your resume, kind of showing a little bit of your experience, selecting some courses that you may have some sort of knowledge in. And then typically this goes through a process of with professors who would be teaching that course. I had the opportunity to be selected. And so this year I was able to have this semester I was able to have my tuition waived and have that stipend. So it is a great kind of financial opportunity, and it's very, very important one as well for individuals like myself and a lot of my peers. And it's really an opportunity that is very unique to the ILR school. So it really does help.
Yes, and it is a competitive application process. So I will often tell students, just apply for every single TA-ship that's there. because that's the best way to increase your chances. We do not choose the TAs from our office, but we do facilitate the process. So we keep our students very abreast of opportunities that come from outside of ILR school too. Sometimes other schools will be looking for a TA for a class, and they know that the ILR students would be perfect for it. But we definitely do give you all the information on how to apply and what you need to do. We get all that information to the faculty members. The faculty members then choose their TAs. We don't do that again, but we do facilitate the process. They let us know, and we let our students know who have been chosen. This is not like a PhD program. It is not a fully funded program, but we do facilitate that process as best we can. There's also scholarships from CARS, as Queenie mentioned earlier. And there's lots of, I find truly that those students that really work hard to find that financial aid do find something at some point. But I do also say be prepared to foot the whole bill for the entire program if that's what needs to be done. Usually it's not. Again, you find some sort of financial aid, even if it's only as a grader or a tutor, or so you're an hourly position. But I do find that most students do find some financial aid. And again, if we have a one-on-one meeting, I can talk to you more specifically about that. So I have one question: what would you say was a surprising element in the MILR program, something that really helped you in your skill development, but you were sort of surprised about? That's a tricky one. Boy, you guys really drilling Queenie with the questions today.
That is a good question. I'm going to say there's two major things that I was surprised about. I'm going to start with one, the career services office. So I didn't have any career support from my undergraduate program. And so that was an incredibly surprise to me, just because of how well oiled the machine is. You start, if you so choose to come to the MILR program, you start connecting with the career services office over the summer, so that by the time you reach the first day here on campus, you're already up and running with a great resume, kind of organizations that you might be interested in looking into. There's info sessions scheduled for you to attend. And then they have timelines almost protecting students and giving them the opportunity to make sure that they can get as many opportunities as they can to find one that fits them best. And so kind of having that timeline and that support was something that I found very, very surprising, and was truly helpful, because I was able to not only lay out my options, but also then evaluate with the expertise of Anu and Marcia and the rest of the career services office, with their insights on not only industry standards, but also what alumni had received in terms of their programmings within their organizations, as to what was the best fit for me. So that really helped me in terms of developing how I wanted to stand out as a candidate, but also be intentional about which organizations I was going to interview for, and then also go through the process with. So many great resources, whether that's your first time making a LinkedIn, writing a cover letter, revising your resume, and just really curating kind of the best version of yourself to present. It was absolutely amazing. I've never felt so supported by a career, like any sort of career advisement. And then another thing is that I would say another thing I was surprised about was kind of the role playing aspect in a lot of the classes that I was able to take here in the MILR program. I knew coming in that through my due diligence was that we were going to have that kind of real world application of our studies. But I think the amount of courses that I was able to had the opportunity to take that involved some sort of role playing, that was truly kind of the things that helped enhance not only the way I critically thought about situations, but also think outside of the box. The way that I feel like I am now able to articulate not only my thoughts, but also de-escalate kind of situations, or how to manage certain kind of conflicts and mitigate I would have never kind of been able to do if I was just, again, reading a case study and just like filling out a piece of paper or a worksheet. We truly get to practice with one another. We learn different tactics, and then we also consider things that we may not have even thought about after we conduct these role plays in these cases. And there are a great handful of these courses that really truly get you practicing every single week, every single class. Managerial negotiations was one. HR views from the top is another great one. So those two courses very big on role playing. And those were the ones I really took away. And now whenever I'm in a conflict or in a situation where I feel like I have to mitigate or de-escalate, I remember back to how I'm triggering certain emotions or pain points and all these great things that and tactics that I just again would have never really thought about or learned unless I had experienced it in these like different scenarios and cases. So I would say the ability to have that kind of practice in these courses were very, very, very unique and also very developmental for my strategies.
That was a great answer. Thank you. And I do hear that from other students, the role playing, although it's a little scary at first, it's really the best
Yeah.
way. And we know this as a society, we know that just redoing and doing and doing and having that exposure is really what makes you better at the things that you want to do.
Absolutely.
So the last two questions are really talking about the statement of purpose. So I'll just tell you again, on the main website, there's a video that I created down in application, and it really gives you a lot of information about how to structure and do that statement of purpose and how that will help set you up with the online interview. But Queenie, can you talk a little bit about, remembering back when you wrote that statement of purpose, what you were sort of thinking about and any tips you might have?
Yeah, definitely. If I remember correctly, with my statement of purpose, um, I think I was very intentional about, again, what kind of courses I wanted to perhaps maybe take. Again, these are all subject to change, but then showing my interest in a lot of these different um, professors, these lecturers, again, these industry practitioners, um, and then also kind of having an idea as to where I wanted to go within HR. I think one thing that I like would love to tell myself now was that you're not married to your statement of purpose. If I look back and I read my um, application, and I think that a lot of my professors will tell me the same, is that I've changed so much that if I look back at that paper, I'd be like, my intentions have changed as well. But I think it's important to come in with some idea as to what you want to get out of this program again. So one of the things I really wrote about was that I wanted more exposure to senior leadership. That wasn't something I had the opportunity to have a lot in my prior internships or in my undergraduate program. So I curated a lot of my purpose around that, about also kind of my intention of why I was in HR and where I wanted to go within HR, and as the kind of impact that I wanted to make on the world of work. So again, showing that alignment, I think not only with the School of ILR, but very specifically to the MILR program. And again, subject to change, and that's okay. And it's okay to remember that. So, but it's just again showing your interest and also showing that you did your due diligence and that there are certain things that you are coming here with a purpose to do, was a lot of the things that I focused and tailored my statement of purpose to.
Yeah. And so just very, very quickly, I'll touch on statement of purpose is an academic statement of purpose. So I think of your resume as your fact sheet, and these other documents are the narrative to that fact sheet. So your academic statement of purpose is going to talk about your undergraduate and your undergraduate education, your work experience, any leadership roles that you did. What is your passion? How did you decide on MILR program? What courses did you take that helped you decide that this was the field of study that you wanted? What life experiences and your work experience helped you decide that? So that's what that is all going to be about. Personal statement, new this year to our application. Luckily, Queenie did not have to do that. But that's basically, there's a link in our page that takes you to the graduate school page. But basically, that's are you a first gen? Are you a DACA student? Are you an international student? What challenges have you faced in education? Are you a first gen? It tells a lot about that. So I say to my prospective students, if you were in front of the committee, what would you want them to know? Statement of purpose, academic statement of purpose. You want them to know about your education, your passion, your work experience. What do you want them to know about that? As far as your personal experience, what would be helpful and beneficial for them to know about you as a person, about struggles, about goals, and about advantages that you have had. So I would just like to thank all of you for participating. Your questions were fantastic. It was so great. So I really appreciate your participation. Queenie, I can't thank you enough. You did a fabulous job, as we knew you would, and all that confidence that you've built over this past year has really shown through. And I just want to say thank you so much. So again, thank all of you for joining us, and I look forward to reading your application.
Thank you all so much. These were amazing questions. And again, if you're weighing your decision, your option, and you feel like this program, it's something that you're interested in investing in, I definitely say to reach out to alums, reach out to myself, submit that application. There's a lot of opportunities after to really explore further whether or not this is going to be the program for you. So that is my last piece of advice.
Thank you, Queenie. Yes, yes. And again, if you have any questions, I'm seeing that you may run into questions as you review your application, as you're getting ready to submit it. If you run into any difficulty with the video or anything like that, send me an email. Send me an email, get on my calendar, let's talk. I'm available and want to help. So please go ahead and do that. So again, thank you all very much for attending. Thank you, Queenie. And we look forward to seeing your applications come in. Take care.
Thank you, Derry.
Bye-bye.